Jake, we're behind the wheel of the bZ4X, and I have to say, compared to some of the other electric cars we've driven, it's a little boring to drive.
All right, but look, this car is $10,000 to $20,000 cheaper than a lot of those vehicles, and this one's made by Toyota, so you know it's gonna last, which isn't a given for every brand out there.
Yeah, but you have to wonder, will that be enough? A lot of people in the electric car market are looking for that electric car wow factor, the big acceleration, you know, all of that stuff. And this really drives like a more traditional ICE car.
But a lot of people are looking for that as well. A lot of people want a more traditional ICE car, so maybe this is gonna be better for them. But you know what? I think there are a lot of places this car objectively shines outside of the driving portion. So why don't we pull over and take a look at that?
Before we do, I have one question. What does the name even stand for?
Okay, yeah, so a lot of people have been asking that. bZ4X. BZ is beyond zero. You can think of that almost as a sub-brand for Toyota's battery electric vehicles. The 4 is the size class, think RAV4. So 4 is your size class, and the X means this is a compact crossover. But with that question answered out of the way, let's get over and take a look at some other parts of the vehicle.
The driving dynamics of the bZ4X are a little bland, but the exterior is anything but bland.
Colin, will you stop it with the bland thing? I mean, this car is not bland. Watch this. Hey, Toyota.
What do you want to do?
Tell me a joke.
Refusing to go to the gym is a form of resistance training.
See, that's not bland. That's good. That's funny.
Jake, get out of there. We have to do the exterior segment.
All right, Colin, we can't talk exterior of bZ4X without mentioning it's got two-tone.
Absolutely, this $500 two-tone option is a must-have on this car, and it looks especially great with this $425 wind chill pearl white option.
Absolutely, but one question for you. This pillar back here, this is a big boy. Does it get in the way of visibility when driving?
Honestly, not so much. As we'll see in the interior, they have what they've replaced the gauge cluster with very high above the steering wheel. That's your biggest visibility issue, but that pillar, not a problem.
Overall, I really like the look of it.
I have to agree, they did a good job mixing the more futuristic angles and strong body lines with some of the more traditional styling and really complement that with a bunch of good tech.
Yeah, I really like in particular how they took those strong fenders and molded them into the headlights. I think it's a real sharp look that I haven't seen before.
So about these headlights, I'm assuming they're LED and have all the auto high beam stuff you'd expect?
You would be correct. So on the XLE, you're gonna get bi-LED projector headlights. But right here, we have the limited, so we're gonna get multi-LED headlights. Now, both models are gonna get LED DRLs and rear lighting as well. The exterior of the bZ4X also carries all the other features one would expect from a modern vehicle. Both the XLE and Limited trims get color keyed door handles with touch sensors and unlock and lock functions. The heated power mirrors house a blind spot monitor signal and puddle lights. Look from above the bZ4X and you will find the panoramic sunroof, which functions more like a dual pane sunroof on the inside. Back on the ground, you'll find the Limited trim wears a snazzy pair of shoes with these 20-inch rims, while the XLE will have 18-inch wheel covers, but either option looks sharp. I have to say, I think the rear of the bZ4X is my favorite angle of it.
Definitely, it's surprisingly sporty back here. This one comes with the standard ducktail spoiler, but you can also get a split spoiler as an option. And
if you look down below, you're gonna find a rear diffuser.
Yeah, this vehicle might not look like it's super aerodynamic, but that's far from the truth. This has a drag coefficient of 0.218. That's about 5 times lower than either of ours.
Now, that's all impressive, but this has one of those fancy kick-to-open tailgates like all the cool kids have these days, right?
It sure does, and this one's a lot easier to use than some other people's because you have these little guides right here between these two flares. If you kick your leg with the key on your person, it will eventually open up. You do have to make sure you go a certain depth below the car, of course.
It usually does open within 1 to 2 kicks. It's one of the better systems we've seen. Now, opening it up, Colin, when I first opened up this rear area, there was more space than I actually thought there would be. Guess how much cubic feet of space is back there?
I don't know, 1 million?
All right, well, now you've given a silly answer. The real answer isn't gonna sound that big. It's 27.7 cubic feet of space here, which actually is really good compared to the competition. And if you want to put down the second row by hitting this little shoulder button right here, it's nice and easy. You just do that, now you have 56 cubic feet of space. Colin, there is one distinct problem with the rear of the bZ4X, and that is the styling results in this sharp tip back here. And so I feel like I would walk in, trip, and impale myself on the bZ4X's handsome styling.
Well, Jake, you being one of the most uncoordinated humans ever, that might be a you problem, but for someone like me who's of normal agility, that's not an issue. But you do have a pretty functional area back here. You have some grocery hooks. You can pull out this cover to cover your rear cargo. You also have your charge port holder right down here. One interesting thing to note, you don't have any outlets back here, so you can't plug any silly things, say blenders, into the rear of this vehicle.
I do love my electric vehicle powered blenders. The interior of the bZ4X is well thought out. I see this car compared to the ID4 a lot, but frankly the interior of the bZ4X and the UI design here is just far superior. There are traditional air conditioning controls, plenty of center storage, and the physical buttons won't be accidentally pressed like the capacitive buttons in the ID4.
But don't think that means the bZ4X is outdated. You still have this 12.3-inch infotainment screen that works great. You also have this interesting pattern up along the dash. Well, some very weird placement. There's a lot of depth up here, and you can actually use this area. Stuff will stay up here. There's a little ramp down, just giving you even more functionality. You also have this translucent cover over the wireless charger. So if you put your phone in there and then close it, if you get a message or something, a notification, it'll light up and you can still see it. But one interesting thing that is missing is the glove box.
But Colin, where am I gonna put my gloves?
On your hands, Jake. Let's talk about the seats in the bZ4X, and I have to say these seats are very comfortable. You have the Softex material, which as I said is comfortable and easy to clean. Now in the XLE you're just going to have heated front seats, but in this limited trim we're going to have heated and ventilated front seats, as well as heated rear seats. Now heating the seats and cooling the seats is very important in electric vehicles because it's a lot more efficient than heating the entire car, so you can help save on that battery life. Speaking of climate control, this does have dual zone climate control, and you can also use infrared energy to help heat your legs. Now we did find that if you use that climate control, it takes a significant chunk out of your range estimates. I mean upwards of 40 miles out of your range estimate. So maybe just stick to the heated and ventilated seats.
The rear of the bZ4X is also a very nice space. The interior of this car really is sublime. First of all, we have bountiful legroom here. In addition, lots of headroom because we have that very flat roof. In terms of amenities back here, we have a pull-down center console, which does have 2 cup holders, no nubs in it, also a little bit of a phone holder here. Then in the center right here, because we have the $350 weather package, we're gonna have heated seats. In addition, we have air vents back here along with USB-C outlets. The middle seat is usable here because, well, we don't have any powertrain running through the middle of the car. Overall, you could probably fit 3 6-foot-tall adults here for a shorter trip, but you could definitely fit 4 6-foot-tall adults in this car for a road trip.
So Jake, this is an electric vehicle, so let's talk about the battery.
Yeah, absolutely. Now there are 2 potential batteries you could get on the bZ4X. The first one is a 71.4 kilowatt hour battery pack. That's going to be on the front wheel drive variants. On the dual motor all wheel drive variants, you're going to find a 72.8 kilowatt hour battery pack.
I have to say on that front wheel drive variant, you're going to get a respectable amount of range relative to the price, about 252 miles. On that all-wheel drive variant though, you're only getting about 228 miles, so you really have to weigh your options, whether how important all-wheel drive is and how important more range is.
And you know, the all-wheel drive that's important you bring that up because it also affects the charging. The bZ4X has rather slow charging, doesn't it?
It really does. If you have the front wheel drive version, it's going to take about 30 minutes to go from 20% to 80%. That is on the slow end for fast charging, but it really gets worse with the all-wheel drive variant. It's going to take a full hour to go from 20% to 80%. So you can connect your phone to the bZ4X?
Absolutely, Colin. You just get your phone out of your pocket here, and you unlock it. And once you unlock it, okay, we're just gonna do a simulated demonstration here instead, I've decided. Once you unlock it, you can connect to the Toyota app, and from there you can lock and unlock the car, you can start it, or if you're lost in a parking lot, you can use guidance to find where the car is parked within the parking lot, and you can do all of that also from your Amazon Alexa or Google Smart Home speaker. Pretty cool feature.
Even better, the bZ4X comes with a built-in hotspot. So if you're annoying little goblin children or getting on your nerves, you can just give them the tablet and voila, distracted.
All right, Colin, Toyota redid their infotainment a while back, and I gotta say, it looks great.
Yeah, I especially love the widescreen format. It especially shines in the Apple CarPlay.
Yeah, and you know what? I recommend people stay in that CarPlay, not because this system's bad. As you can see, it's very responsive and snappy, and it's a great screen quality and all that. However, there's just really not any features in here that CarPlay doesn't already offer. So a lot of brands offer some pretty comprehensive EV information here. Not the case here. You can see that really there's maybe some mileage information, but that's really about it.
Yeah, but there is one nice thing with this CarPlay system. It's a wireless CarPlay system, and at this price point, that's quite surprising.
That's true, that's true. But you know what? One thing that's not in CarPlay that is really nice about this car is the cameras.
Yeah, this car has some great views. If you shift the car into drive, it'll come up and you can see if you click around these views, it kind of gives you a little hint in the front there as to what's under your car so you don't curb the wheels on anything.
Yeah, having that curve view is really nice, and also in some of the 360 modes you can see what's under the car, which is actually pretty useful for off-roading. Real nice job on the cameras there, real nice job on the infotainment. If I had one complaint, it would be that they did the volume buttons like this instead of a knob. That's a little bit annoying just because it takes a long time to tap, 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 tap all the way through the volume. You can hold it to get it to go a bit faster, but a knob is just better. Overall though, good job on the infotainment, Toyota. Colin, why don't you tell us a bit more about that screen in front of you?
Let's talk about this display in front of the driver. This is the multi-information display. It's a 7-inch LCD display that shows off a lot of your standard gauge cluster stuff, your speed, your range, all of that stuff. It is customizable from buttons on the steering wheel here. If you press any of these buttons, you can change which information is being displayed up on this screen. You can get some very useful stuff up here. You can find your music, your mileage, trip info. This is where you can see which of your safety features are turned on and off. That's very useful. Also, very intuitive system. And of course, let's talk about the wheel while we're here. This wheel is heated. That's just an option on the XLE trim, but if you have the limited trim, the heated steering wheel will be standard.
All right, Colin, any good electric car needs a pretty impressive suite of self-driving features on the highway. What's the story here?
So it's a lot like the rest of the car, really. There's not a whole lot of fluff here, but everything you have does a great job.
Explain that.
So this vehicle just has your standard lane centering and lane keep, your standard cruise control stuff. It's not like Highway Driver Assist 2 on the Hyundai Kia products, where it'll change lanes for you, or the Super Cruise where it has, the full hands-free driving. But it does a great job maintaining your position in the lane and keeping a good follow distance from the car in front of you.
Yeah, so I'd agree with all that. Basically, this has some other safety features too as part of Toyota Safety Sense 3.0. So we have the blind spot monitoring, we have safe exit assist, so the car is gonna automatically lock the child locks if it detects you're about to get out and there's oncoming traffic behind you. On top of that, you have the features you just mentioned. It's not gonna let you cross a double yellow line. It's got the lane keep on all of those cool features. But Colin, how easy is it to activate that self-driving system when you're on the highway?
I have to say this is one of the most intuitive systems on the market. All you have to do is press the cruise control, and if you have the lane keep on, it'll help keep your lane. Of course, those buttons are right next to each other, super easily marked. You just press the button, you're set.
Okay, that really is an overlooked feature, I feel like, because in a lot of these self-driving semi-autonomous systems, it really does feel like you're putting in the nuclear codes when you're trying to start the systems up. But with all that aside, let's talk a bit more about the driving dynamics here on the highway. What's the passing power feel like?
So if you've been in other electric vehicles, it certainly won't blow you away. It doesn't really compare to their acceleration, but compared to ICE vehicles, it's incredible. And I mean, you still have the confidence. It's not bad to pass. It's just you don't have as much confidence. But if I was to pull up and pass someone, I know this vehicle will get the job done.
That's good to know, that's good to know. Before we wrap up the highway segment, there is one thing I want to mention though, and that is the wind noise. Now, it's a pretty common problem for EVs that since there's no engine noise to cover up the wind, you hear it a bit more in the cabin. But this car, more than others, I feel like I hear the rush of wind outside the window. Now, to be clear, there's no wind coming in or no whistling indicating a poor fitting body panel or something. It's just you hear the rush of wind more so than you do in other cars when you're on the highway.
Yeah, and of course that is an easy fix. If you don't want to hear that wind, all you have to do is turn on the music. Of course, in this car, it's a little bass heavy, but it's not too bad.
One of my favorite features of the bZ4X is the Max AC button. You simply press and hold this button, and the car's gonna turn on and blast the AC on max, making it nice and cool on the inside for when you get in. You know what else is cool? Gas Guzzler reviews. Like and subscribe for more weekly automotive content. All right, folks, let's get back into it. All right, Colin, we gotta talk regular driving dynamics here in the bZ4X. So in this front wheel drive model, we have 195 pound-feet of torque, 201 horsepower. Get to the dual motor all-wheel drive variant, you're gonna have about 215 horsepower and 247 pound-feet of torque. How does that power feel?
Well, Jake, it really depends on what you compare it to. If you're comparing this to other electric vehicles, it definitely feels just a little bit sluggish. On this one in particular, you're getting 0 to 60 in about 7 seconds, which is certainly not great for an electric vehicle. But if you compare that to an ICE vehicle, this thing does really stand out. It feels very zippy. So if you're moving up from, say, a RAV4, this would feel really good to drive.
Okay, fair. But something I did notice that I wasn't a huge fan of was the size of the steering wheel. It looks a little small to me. Does that have any impact?
Yeah, it definitely feels a little small, and I think that might just be a preference thing, and it also has a little bit of lighter steering. Personally, neither of us like that, but I know some people do like that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of lighter steering just because it feels so vague on the road. I don't always know, exactly where I'm headed. It's a feel thing, right? But as you said, some people really prefer that. One thing that I think is pretty objectively great on this vehicle, though, is the suspension.
Oh yeah, this vehicle rides incredibly. Sometimes the electric vehicles can get really heavy with all those batteries, and you don't feel it on this vehicle. It's about 4,200 pounds, and it takes bumps incredibly. It's a super comfortable ride.
Agreed, and it handles itself well. It doesn't lose its composure when you hit a bump or anything like that. But Colin, with all of that said, my hands are starting to overheat. Can we please pull over and just finish this video?
You're still wearing those?
Earlier this year, I filmed a review of the bZ4X at the 2023 Washington, D.C. Auto Show. But that video never went up because, well, we found out we were going to get this, and, well, I'm actually really glad that review never got put together and never went up, the one from the DC Auto Show. Reason being is this: I was rather negative towards the bZ4X in that video. However, now that I've had time to experience it and get to, be in it and see all of its glory, I actually feel rather positively towards it. I think that if you're someone with $40,000, $50,000 and you're going to look for a car that's front-wheel drive and has all the normal amenities you would expect while also being environmentally friendly and electric, this is a really solid option.
I do think it does have its issues, though. Of course, Jake just mentioned you really have to get this in front-wheel drive. If you get the all-wheel drive model, that 60-minute fast charge capability is just a deal breaker. If you have to wait 1 hour to even get to 80%, that's just too much time. But this front-wheel drive model is certainly a solid vehicle. It has pretty good range. Of course, it's Toyota, so everything's super practical. And a lot of the issues we have with this vehicle really are just smaller things.
Yeah, and I think, look, if you come into this with reasonable expectations, like not expecting it to be a sports car like EV6 was, or, expecting it to be some super high-tech future mobile, because that's not what everyone wants. Lots of people just want this. And if you're one of those people, you know who you are, and this is going to be a perfect car for those of you that want that. Guys, I'm Jake.
I'm Colin.
You're watching Gas Guzzlers.
This has been the bZ4X.
And we hope to see you in next week's video. Take care. That's going as the end clip, or we have the credits rolling. That's going to be the end clip. Let's do it.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
Oh, hold up. You have to clap again? All right, go. Happy birthday. All right, ready?
Go true. Happy birthday from Red Robin to you. Hey.
All right, y'all ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
Colin, I gotta say.
I don't know why. I thought someone else.
Colin, I gotta say, I'm loving this infotainment screen.
I have to agree. I think the why. All right, ready?
Colin. There's no way you just did that.
All right, just go.
Clap
again, clap again.
All right, Colin.